Hello YouTube! Today is a very special video, however it's going to be mildly boring. So honestly, if you guys don't really want to watch my tutorial series, don't watch this one. But if you really want to continue with the series and learn all the new things that need to be done for this video or this project, go ahead and watch it because however tedious it is, it will teach you a lot. Today we are learning program ROM as well as decoders. Decoders being the most annoying part of the whole project. And so, there's not really much for announcements. I'm at 75 subscribers. That's pretty pog. That's awesome. Thank you everyone for supporting me and all that. And I did make a mistake in a previous video that was very aggressively pointed out by one of my viewers. That cannot right now be called cache. Right now it is called general purpose registers or data registers, which is for storing data temporarily to be used again by the ALU. So technically, by his definition, that is not cache, and I should not have made that mistake. And I should probably delete my channel for such a mistake, but I'm not going to because I'm not a little crybaby. I'm going to keep pushing forward. Hate on my content all you want. I'm still going to do it because this channel, will teach as many people everything they need to know toward making redstone, as well as showcasing my greatest builds. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the annoyingness of annoying that this video will be, because decoders are the pain of my life. I hate decoders and how much time they take to make, but once they're made, they work without it. They work 100%. Without further ado, let's get into it. So before we can get into building any of that, we have to learn how the concepts work. So right here we'll be learning both of them and how they function and their purposes, as well as how they compare to other things. So we got to learn decoders first. Now, we already know that the binary individual combinations can represent different numbers, as this equals 0, this equals 1, this equals 2, and this equals 5. Those are all individual numbers, and all a decoder does is send out only one pulse for the situation that only one of those combinations is accurate. So let's say we put in 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the fifth line will output. That is the purpose of a decoder, and doing that we can hook up, say, like a 16 output thing and hook up like a good 5 bits, and then all of that becomes accessible when having all of the individual number combinations in binary. That's how that's the logic for decoders, and this is actually the best attempt at explaining it. So how do we build it? Well, we differentiate between wanting to know. We separate wanting to know whether the pulse is on or off with torches and repeaters. If the pulse is on, the torch turns off and the repeater turns on. So in this case, we want a line to be off in order to go into a torch and turn back on for the output. As you can see, there's only one output. And if we look at this, this is done by having repeaters put where we want the power off, and when we want the power on, we place torches. So that when the power is on, all the torches will go off, and it will only look for the things that are accurate on the other sides. Is there like a repeater off, and once all sides are off, it'll output. Now how to build it is relatively simple. All you gotta do is learn the little bit of combinations, and then all you gotta do is input the combination. We'll get more into that later in the video, of course. But the two different combinations, well, three actually, I can do as well. Ignore that. Alright, so there's three different methods of powering things. We just have a torch. A torch is nice. But we also have repeaters, but we can't really directly do a repeater if we try to make it tight. So from this block, from either of the side blocks, we'll take a repeater and place it going into the block above the line we are trying to get a repeater into. Place a block above, a block on the side, redstone dust on top so the power can go above, and there we go. That is powering that block, so that when it's turned on, that will be powered so that this will be accessible. Another type of powering is when we can't do this side by side, because we can't get this repeater powered in this situation unless it's powered by that repeater, and we don't want to do that. So what we will instead do is break the middle block. If we have two different blocks right next to each other that we need powered, all we'll do is power both. So we're going to place a block down like this, one right here, and then a block right there, repeater and dust, and then it'll power all of those lines. So by doing that, we effectively have three different methods of applying two different effects on redstone lines in power. Now keep in mind, this cannot work everywhere. If you have one of these, say on this line, and then that comes out like this, and then goes into its own block, you can't do that, because that will power this dust. I don't really know what that noise is about. That will power the dust and screw up the whole system, so instead, you want to do it in situations that are like this. If it's doing this, then that will power that block, and that repeater will be unaffected. That's the only real situation where you could do that. Or if there's like torches on both sides, then it won't be affected at all. So now that you have an idea how decoders work, and later in the video we'll be building one, so you'll get a better feeling for it. Let's get into ROM. ROM is essential for having computers work. Now, whether or not it's hooked up to a decoder or not, that's different. Well, like a decoder for opcode. But in this case, this computer will be using ROM to input instructions rather than instruction data. And to explain that, we're going to come over here, because we have RAM and we have ROM. The difference is RAM is random access memory, meaning we can access individual points of it at any point that we want, while ROM is read-only memory. It will only read from these lines. And kind of showcase this a little bit, the ROM will output using this. Like, you'll have the decode lines, and they'll have torches powering different lines that go throughout the computer to power certain parts of it. And of course, you'll see that later in the video. But random access memory is generally used for data storage, while ROM is generally used for instructions. If you check out other computers, I'm sure they have different systems, but they all pretty much have a system that uses ROM that will power all the parts of the computer needed to make it work. And we simply can show it off right here, where the decoder decodes different lines, and then I have a little dust here to represent all of these lines being able to use a torch to power onward and say go to the cache, not the cache, the decoders, or go to the ALU, or go to the general registers, any of that. So basically that's how ROM works. And of course we will also be taking a look at that later in the video. I don't know if I said that about this yet, but yeah. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start on it. And without further ado, how about we get into building it? So we've got a few different things we've got to do. Move the mic a little bit. The first thing we have to do is we're going to hook up the decoders. Once we hook up the decoders to the registers, we will then move on to ROM. So the first things we got to do is we got to modify our little setup just a little bit. We're going to break our blocks right here with the torch on them and place dust right here. There is a reason to this. Looks like I have to save the right values into here. Bop, bop. Alright, so ignore the fact that everything in here is outputting. Now that we've done that, we're going to take our decoder color block and place it right there for all of these. All of this is because our decoder's automatically inverted, as we saw earlier, and so we don't have to, you know, invert it again. Oh, that's a mistake. No, I don't have a block on me. There we go. we don't have to invert it if the pulse is already inverted, because we want the pulse to be off in order to power. If we want to read from it, we want the pulse to be off, and we already have the decoder off when that line is selected, so we're good. Now, we're going to work on this bottom one. We're going to come out several blocks. Since this is 8 bytes, we're going to use 7 bits, because the max for 7 bits is 8 bytes. 7 bits translates into 8 bytes, my bad. We're a little tight here. How do I want to do this? Alright, we're changing this up a little bit. In order to save for space, we're gonna be breaking these blocks, doing that instead. This is because we're gonna power the block underneath instead of the top block on top. So we're gonna instead place our brown here and do that for all of these. Then we can come up 2 blocks, give 2 blocks because this is a repeater. We need to power this block with a torch. So then we'll come up for all of them. And that's how long we need to be. So we'll do that for all of these. Now that we've done that, we can pull in our lines, which will be decoded. Alright, editor's note. You're seeing a little past version of this world, but I'm from the future, and I have future knowledge. These blocks need dust. These will not be powered at this point in the video, but make sure to put those redstone dust right there. And I completely forgot when making the video, and I was editing it and noticed I did not put them there, so go ahead and put that there. Just gotta make sure that all of these are the same too. These are all good. Yep, okay. Sorry about that mistake there, and go ahead and do that, and we'll be on for the rest of the video. In order to save on annoyance, we're going to go ahead and build or decode these things. So we're going to start off by placing blocks here, having repeaters going into them because this is our 0. And I kind of wonder now if I should change this, simply because this will get powered before anything else will. Actually, no, that's perfectly fine. Okay. We're going to start off with our torches. This is 1. Next one is 2. The next one is 3. The next one is 4. Next one is 5. The next one is 6. And the last one is 7. And since 0 is addressable, this 0 becomes, well, the first one. Now, all we gotta do is power the blocks that we do not want to address from. Actually, we need to figure out how far we need to go for the repeaters, because that's important. So we're gonna place our repeaters here. No, that's not a repeater. That'll cover everything. And so now we're going to replace our repeaters on the inside. I did that one wrong. And then route over them. And we're going to do that for all of the blocks that there are no torches on. Now that we've done that, we just got a few more things we gotta do. Just 3 more. Oops. Okay. And there we go. Now, if we input 1, that switches to that. 2 switches to that third one. 3 goes to the fourth line. And so on. As we increment in binary, it increments which one is addressed. This is a mistake, actually. Another thing that I found out before mid-video is that we actually have to invert the output of the ALU because the registers have to be inverted when there's an input. So we're going to go ahead and replace all of those repeaters with torches on the block in front of them. And so now this is all we end up with, which is actually the invert of what we're supposed to have. So if we break all of these torches will turn on. And now all we will do is just write to all of these. And that will begin the process of turning off this always on pulse. That's only with this design of cache, so if you're on Java or using something else, you don't have to worry about this. But doing that, which means there is no longer an output. And there we go. So now we're going to build the second line, which is basically the exact same thing as the first time we did this. It's just literally the same decoder with the same pattern. So I'm actually going to challenge you guys to do it without me here to help you. We're just going to decode by having the binary value input with the torches and repeaters in the way that we expressed earlier in order to ensure that one line is activated at a time. So without further ado, I'm going to show you guys that these three are the starting blocks, and you'll create a line, which will go all the way through, and then you'll decode it onto these lines. Go ahead and give it a shot. Alright guys, so we should have come out with the same thing as before, where we basically have this pattern of everything going this way. This is our decoder, and now that we have that, we've got two decoders for both of the read systems. And now that we have this, all we got to do is hook up one for the write system. There's only one little special thing we got to do with that, and I'll get into that in just a second. So without further ado, let's show you what we got to do here. So for the system here is we're going to place this line here. That's how we're going to set it up. I think we can have that a block closer than before, but I guess it doesn't really matter, so for the sake of simplicity, we're going to do this. And that's our setup. We're also going to break this line of redstone and then place just one torch. And doing that, once it's inverted, it will not write. But we're actually going to fix it with a separate line so that even 0 will not write until we want it to in a cycle. So without further ado, go ahead and copy this, and I'll show you what we're supposed to look at after we get all this copied. And at that, this is what this should look like. If you need a second to look at it, just take the angles that you see here, 2 blocks before that. It's actually not necessary for 2 blocks, but I'm keeping it even with the lower buses. And there we go. Now that we've done that, it's actually a good idea to, what's it called? I'm going to do another time lapse. I'm going to finish the decoder as up here, and then I will get into what I was just about to say. Alright, now that we've done that, our new decoders are complete. All we've done is connect decoders to all of the different inputs to the system. We actually have to put those control lines for these here too, same as the one up top, same design. But now that we've done that, we should be good. All we gotta do is then work straight onto the ROM. We're going to set up the ROM. It's going to be right around here. We're going to have a decoder hooking up to select individual lines of the ROM. And after we do that, we're going to connect the ROM up to certain parts. We're going to create a little component right here. And then we'll be done with the video. So to start off with making the ROM, we're going to measure out a little bit. Let's see. First things we got to do, we're going to place a line right here. We're going to do all that. The reason for this is because if we take that torch, the dust doesn't go down, but it does go up. We're going to use that for something else in the future, but now that we have this selected, we can then, let's see, go out like this. We're going to use gray? No. I'm going to use blue. Yep. There, we're going to do that for all of these. Probably are confused as to why I'm doing this right now. But it's because we need a go-to. And so, let's say we started on this block, which means the first block of our decoder will be on this line. This block, well, this Y value. We're going to bring this out and also measure it on the other end, where we want to have about 3 blocks. 120 is where we'll start the decoder. Right here. We want a space over there. Actually, we're going to add one. We want space on this side of the decoder so that we can get buses upward, and we also want here so that we can have space to get a pulse from here outward so we can create a go-to system. I think I'm now realizing we don't need to do all of these, but I'll keep it that way anyway. So we can go ahead and delete this because we don't need that. Instead, we're going to bring this out and make sure there are 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's because we're going to have 32 bytes of ROM, and 5 bits goes to 35 bytes, or 35 like different values. And so now we're going to come out and go down. These are going to be our outputs. We're going to create 35 of these. But an easy way to do this is just do 2, and then we'll copy paste them later. Bring them all the way back here. Oops. Send these over. Get dust on top. It's all for stacking purposes. I'm going to decode them later. Now that we've got the base for the decoder done, we're going to start the base for the ROM. We're doing it this way so that we don't have to worry about building every individual line. So we're going to start off by creating a huge line right here. It's got to be long. We're going to bring it all the way out here. Now from this block right here, I think we can... Hang on, where's this? Okay, so we're going to place a repeater right here for all of these. And we're going to bring this out with blue, because this is busing now. We're also going to come up like this with our control line color. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 8. Now I've got 8 lines. We're going to do all of these with our busing color and then put redstone dust on top, and then we're going to bring this busing over to cover every single line. Now that we've done that, we can follow this down to get an idea as to how long we need our control line, our ROM, because we'll have enough room to hook up the other components more or less. So now that we have this, we're going to come out, do this again, bring this all the way. And once it's over here, we're going to cover the tops. Actually, no. First off, we're going to map out what we need. Let's get some yellow on us. So when we're coding in this ROM, we want to know what we're doing. So first off, we're going to have one that writes to the comparison. Basically, we're going to do this for a lot. We need all of these individual blocks to be positions where we put torches that'll go to power certain parts. We know the ALU needs 2, one for the invert and one for the carry-in. So we're going to also add the other features we need. There's going to be a go-to. There's going to be a thingy. I forget what it's called. Crap. It's when you're comparing to write to the comparison register. So we'll go to comparison register, write, start, halt, and the 2 ALU functions. And then using this, we've got some basic things that we can do. And just in case I'm forgetting anything, I'm going to add 2 more. Now that we've done that, we can start with the addressing of those 3 storages, those 3 decoders. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then a third, 1, 2, 3. Doing that, all of these can write to the different parts. Not sure how I'm going to map that out just yet. I'll do that in a later video. But if we come and do this, we're gonna put redstone dust on all of these. And then when we get to the end here, since that goes to the bus, I'm gonna place one more block. We're gonna, for every block that goes into the bus, we're gonna place these. It's just to color code the purposes of what we're doing in this part of the ROM. So now that we've done that, we're going to change the color for those positions on all of these. Now that we've done that, the only couple things we have to do now is put repeaters. And we're going to put repeaters to split in between areas so that we don't lose anything. So we're going to do this here. And then here we can do that just fine. I'm going to put it in front. Now that we've done that, we should be good. All of this is going to go to power different parts of the computer, and we're just going to map that like up and over or something like that. And so we don't need to worry about that right now. But these are all going to address into this, while these are going to address into this and some things here, and these are going to go out over there. The last thing we need to do is the most annoying. Before we can start copy pasting, we have to set these lines up. And we're going to have to do this for every single output that we've allotted for. And I think there's a 50-50% chance that I really screwed up back here. So, we're going to break it so we're going to have individual lines, because these are all the individual line outputs from our ROM. So as you can see, the way I set it up, this is accidentally on a line that's supposed to be off. So I'm just going to stagger this and do it like this, just because I made a mistake, and that's the best fix I can do. So now those are even, but there's a little stagger right here. There can probably be a fix for that, but I'm not going to worry about it right now, so there we go. Now that we've done that, we've actually done pretty much everything that we have to do before copy pasting. So now we're going to get our coordinates, and we're going to copy paste this until there are 32 of these individual lines going that way. And now that we've done that, we will come out with 32 individual output lines for our ROM. And it's a little lower than the computer, and that allows us to have a little bit more room when sending the output lines into the computer, which overall will help us. But its position is kind of just dependent on wherever you want it. Just make sure it's hooked up to the correct things. Now that we've done that, we're actually not all that far off from finishing this video. All we have to do now is finish this decoder, and it's a doozy. So we're starting off with 0 as before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and this will all be off for the rest. Save a little effort right there. "16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. This will also be on for all the rest. I don't know what number that is, nor that one. Probably something funny. We just keep doing this until eventually all of our torches are on. And that's our incrementer right there. All we gotta do right now is just repeaters, and then we're done. Can I just say that doing this is not going to be fun for you at all. Any of you guys watching this, you just gotta push through it, if you know what I mean. It is just the most annoying part of building a computer is the decoding and building buses and whatnot. Just really simple things. Because decoders, they're not fun. We're almost done though. And then once we're done, we can move on to much more fun things in the next episode, I promise. Alright, that took forever, but finally, and I mean finally, we're done. We're done with the decoders. This is all decoded and ready to be done. Those decoders are done, and all we gotta do that's left is, well, make everything else work. One of the most tedious parts of making this computer is done. Now, there's just a little more, like, adding more mechanics and wiring things up, and after all of that, we're ready to code. So without further ado, let's go ahead and show you guys everything. And, yeah, the reason why we're not wiring things up right now is because there's a little bit of a setup that has to be done with that. So this is just where we are right now, and now that the components are all ready to be wired up, we can create more and get all things finished. So in any case, we've got all the decoders hooked up. We've got 32 available bytes of ROM. We've got decoders hooked up for all of our options on the registers. The ALU is also ready to be hooked up, and after all of that, this is what we have. So basically, just be ready for the next video, because even though we haven't really done much, it is a lot of setup for what comes next. So thank you for watching, everyone. Feel free to subscribe or not, because this video probably wasn't that interesting. And without further ado, I'm gonna head out, edit this, and probably get something to drink. I am tired after all of that decoding. But now that it's done, it is done. And we don't have to do it again. Not really, so. Without further ado, I'm gonna head out. Thank you guys.